Hey there, Paul Sterling, Magic Relationship Method. I am a relationship coach, and this is take 2. My girlfriend looked at my first take and said, "You're not having enough fun." So she inspired me to redo this. And this basically is about the holiday season, and this is designed for people who have sort of a love-hate relationship with the holidays. And I laid it all out so it could be fun and simple, and so it could be less stressful for me, because I'm talking to you about how to go from being stressed to feeling blessed. And I was trying to keep all my notes and I ended up stressed out about it. So instead, I'm going to do it in a way that's fun and easy to track. So we just went through the Thanksgiving holidays, and what I want to talk to you about is the 3 biggest stressors. There's a lot of them, but these 3, if you understand what they are, you can avoid them, or you can handle them, or you can stop them when they're small. So what are the first 3? Oh, by the way, when you put all 3 of these together, you end up with the perfect storm, or the holiday from hell. So what are some of the little stressors? Well, finances. People that you normally would avoid, you end up with in the holidays. Family members, travel, too much to do, not enough time, decisions. So that puts you in a stressful mood. Now, here are the 3 biggest stressors. And by the way, all it is 3 steps. We're going to teach you the 3 steps today. Step 1, step 2, and step 3. Number 1 is figure out and agree on what the problems are. Step 2 is to give you some tips, tools, and techniques to handle them. And then step 3 is implement the tools. And step 4 is to have a holiday that is happy, connected, harmonious, feels like a partnership, where you feel a sense of belonging and gratitude. So here are the 3 biggest stressors. Number 1, communication mistakes. And one of my teachers, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of nonviolent communication, he said that the outcome of most communication is misunderstanding. And that happens in the holidays big time. So what we want to do is give you some tools to handle that. So I'm going to give you 1 tip here, and then, like I said, there's a webinar coming up. We'll be able to dive deeper into the webinar. But when somebody's talking, here's the 3 things they want. They want to be heard, understood, and valued. And if they don't, they get louder and meaner and crazier. You know, you ever have Uncle George that tells you the same story 500 times? Well, that's because he never felt heard, understood, or valued once. So that's part 1, communication problems. Part 2 is when we get triggered. Now, there's 3 main parts of the brain. Part A is the relating part, and I have this wonderful little silly thing for relating. So the relating part is the part of the brain that allows you to have empathy and understanding and connection and love for somebody. So that's a really important part. Part 2, so that's the part A, you lead with love. Part 2, you lead with logic. That's the part of the brain that allows you to understand, comprehend, problem solve. It's amazing. The only problem is this part doesn't always work as well with this part. There needs to almost be a translator sometimes, because this part speaks in language of feelings and needs, and this part speaks in logic. Now, both those are pretty cool. The 3rd part, though, is when you get triggered or emotionally upset, and then we have the reptile brain. And that part of the brain is reactive. And when it reacts, it only has 3 options. How many options? 3 options. And I think you might remember that in biology in school. When you get triggered, animals get fight, flight, or freeze, which is very cool when you're in the middle of a major emergency, like a car cuts you off, or your adrenaline's running, you're ready to go. But the problem is that part of the brain, well, actually it's back here, can't tell the difference between discomfort and danger and treats them the same. So they end up in reaction, and if you get triggered and your partner gets triggered, and it is the holiday from hell. So one of the tips is to remember to get it when it's just a baby. So you got to get your triggers when they're just a baby. All right, so that's number 2. And here's another really critical point, is when you're triggered, All those wonderful tips and tools and techniques you read in Cosmo don't work when you need them the most. Why? Because when you're in this brain, all you have access to is fight, flight, or freeze. So what we're going to do is teach you how to get from this brain back into this brain. Very cool trick. Then once you get back up in here, all those tips and tools will work for you. So the third major trigger, the third major stressor, Tony Robbins, one of my mentors and one of my great teachers, when I worked for Tony, he taught me about the 6 needs. And he said that the only reason to be in a relationship is to get your needs met. And he taught us the 6 needs. And if you look at it, what triggers people is when their needs aren't getting met or they don't think their needs are valuable. So what you want to do is sit down with your spouse, your partner, your mate, your family members, and find out what are their needs and express your needs so that you can get your needs met. So number 1, do you get this? The 3 different major things: communication problems, emotional triggers, and needs not getting met. When they work together, you end up with a perfect storm. So the second thing, and I'm not going to go through a lot of them now, I kind of gave you a few, but we're going to go through tips, tools, and techniques that are at their best when the situation is at its worst. And then we implement them, and there's things that I'm going to have you start doing that you may have never done before. And one of them is a four-word sentence that will transform almost any situation. It stops arguments in its tracks. So you got to come, if only for these 4 words. There's some things that you change. You can make a small change and totally transform the interaction, the way things are going. My family is so transformed. I look forward to being with them. And it used to be that I look forward with a love-hate, a lot of stress. So changing something, and some things you just got to stop doing that aren't working for you and probably never work for you, but they're part of your habits. So what I want to do is give you tools that fit into QES. They are quick, they're easy, they're simple to implement, and normally sometimes less than a minute, sometimes less than 5 minutes. It's amazing. All right, so what we want to do is be able to go from being stressed to feeling blessed. Go through. Here are the different major stressors. Here are some tips, tools, and techniques. Start the implementation. We end up with the happy face. Next thing. At this point, you might have some questions. Those questions are, can I learn this? What about time? I already have too much to do. We're going to do it in a webinar. It's going to take an hour to an hour and a half. That hour to hour and a half is going to save you so much time during the holidays that you won't be arguing or upset or in the middle of misunderstanding. So it's well worth it. And some people go, yes, but my partner doesn't want to do it. So yes, but it doesn't matter if your partner. It's better if your partner wants to do it, but it doesn't matter if they don't. So here's the deal. If this interests you, if you want to go to, rather than a love-hate relationship with the holidays, but a love one, and maybe get to where you enjoy those people and really have some advanced, amazing communication tools and are able to stop when you're triggered so it doesn't escalate into a downward spiral from hell, and figure out how to meet your beloved's needs and your family's needs and your needs. This is not about being a martyr. What I want you to do is there should be a link on the page below, or you can go to Magic Relationship, singular, magicrelationship.net/holiday and save yourself a space, and I will see you on the webinar. Thanks, and happy holidays.